Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. New warnings are out about teenagers' use of electronic cigarettes after one death and a number of injuries, such as breathing problems, seizures, and severe lung damage. E-cigs burst onto the scene about 10 years ago and quickly became so popular among young people, the Surgeon General calls teen vaping an epidemic. Users suck on a mouthpiece, which heats liquid nicotine into a vapor that is inhaled. Initially, manufacturers claimed e-cigs would help adults quit smoking. The bigger result, however, teenagers, many of them non-smokers, picked up the vaping, enticed by sweetly flavored nicotine like Berry Burst in bright packaging resembling candy wrappers.
Vaping in teenagers is something that is causing harm to our kids, and we want that message to be loud and clear.
Since e-cigs are relatively new, little is known about their long-term impact, particularly on youngsters. Health officials, though, are sounding alarms about a spike in breathing problems and lung damage among teens after vaping. 4 cases in Minnesota, up to 12 in Wisconsin, 6 in Illinois, and at least 1 in Florida. Chance Amarada rushed to the hospital with a collapsed lung.
It felt like I was having a heart attack, and it was insanely scary.
Chance says his doctors told him he had a condition made worse by vaping. Now on Instagram, he declares nicotine is rotting our brains and destroying our bodies, adding how many more kids are going to have to get hospitalized for us to stop. Another teen, Dylan Nelson, was placed in a medically induced coma after vaping, according to his brother.
Trauma that he's caused to his lungs is significant.
While doctors can't confirm it yet, they believe these acute, aggressive lung injuries appear to be caused by e-cigs.
We recognize that it is not a result of infection, like viruses or bacteria. It looks more similar to injury from an inhalation of some kind of a caustic substance. The body is actually reacting to something that's been exposed to or deposited along the lining of the lung.
Research shows teens who use e-cigarettes are more likely to start smoking regular cigarettes, and continued nicotine use can make other drugs like cocaine more pleasurable. New research shows people over age 100 make up the fastest growing segment of the population. Right now, there are about 500,000 centenarians worldwide. So how do you live that long while at the same time maintain good health? Here's the answer. Studies from the United Nations predict the world will have more than 3 million people age 100 or older in just 30 years. That's good news, unless many of that population suffer from declining health.
We base a lot of our behaviors thinking that this is what's going to happen to us. But in fact, that doesn't have to happen.
Expert on aging, Dr. Stephen Gundry knows what it takes to live a vibrant, disease-free life well into old age.
What we know about super old people who are thriving is that they don't become infirm, that they don't get cancer, that they don't get Alzheimer's. These people actually have the physiology, have the workings of a 50-year-old individual.
In his book, The Longevity Paradox, How to Die Young at a Ripe Old Age, Dr. Gundry zeroes in on the things that set healthy centenarians apart from their sicker counterparts. Topping the list, plenty of good bacteria in their intestines.
It's amazing. Again, when we look at 105-year-old people around the world, they carry the diverse gut microbiome of 30-year-old people.
Having enough of the right bacteria can prevent just about every type of disease, including inherited ones.
Whether we turn genes on or off with information, and that's called epigenetics or epigenomics, and it's that interplay with actually a lot of the material that comes from our microbiome telling our genes what to do.
Dr. Gundry says the key is avoiding processed foods, because of the chemical ingredients, especially the pesticide glyphosate.
It's probably the biggest health problem that people are unaware of. It's in all of our products, all of our cereals, all of our breads, all of our crackers.
Gundry says glyphosate can wipe out good bacteria and even cause a leaky gut.
You will actually make perforations in the wall of your gut, and bacterial particles and plant compounds and toxins will get right through the wall of your gut.
This can lead to migraines, chronic fatigue, and autoimmune diseases like celiac. In addition to eating right, robust old-timers also go without food altogether for long periods of time. Fasting a minimum of 12 hours a day can trigger the body to eliminate whatever hinders survival. Another common characteristic of healthy centenarians is they take few drugs or none at all. While many people, such as diabetics, take specific medication, Gundry maintains healthier choices can even reverse that need.
I have yet to meet a type 2 diabetic who I can't get off of all medications by teaching them how to eat. I haven't met a person who takes a statin drug to lower cholesterol that I can't get off a statin once I teach them how to eat.
Dr. Gundry adds antibiotics and common painkillers can harm the gut microbiome, with even something like an antacid leading to other problems.
And so I see so many people with dementia and congestive heart failure who've been taking these drugs chronically.
Finally, exercise helps keep bodies working no matter how old a person is. It improves blood flow, particularly to the brain. Women who exercise routinely during their lifespan have a 90% reduction in Alzheimer's compared to women who don't. Muscles strengthen bones, preventing injury. Turns out walking against gravity, whether up or down, is especially good exercise because it works this area of the body, which contains most of our muscle mass. In fact, the 5 cities worldwide with the highest concentration of healthy centenarians are all very hilly. Those cities are in what's known as blue zones. The only one in America is Loma Linda, which means beautiful hill. This California city is not only home to the largest concentration of centenarians in the U.S., but also the largest concentration of Seventh-day Adventists. That denomination avoids processed food and drugs while embracing fasting and exercise. Years ago, Dr. Gundry practiced heart surgery in Loma Linda and was so inspired by the people here that he shifted his focus to teaching the rest of the world how to live strong to a ripe old age. When we come back, how a blurb in the church bulletin saved a woman's life.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
a 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. New findings show colon cancer striking more and more young people. Meet a woman who was diagnosed with extremely advanced colon cancer soon after her 40th birthday. Despite that, she's now doing great thanks to an experimental liver transplant surgery. And get this, she found her donor through the church bulletin.
On the outside, Carol Matika looked like the picture of health. In 2016, she experienced pain following a strenuous hike and visited the doctor. Expecting a minor report, the diagnosis caught her totally off guard.
He said, I believe you have a large tumor in your colon. And he said, I believe that your cancer from your colon has went into your liver. And he said, this is probably the worst case scenario.
The good news, surgeons removed the diseased portion of Carol's colon. Since the cancer had spread to her liver, however, doctors told her chemotherapy was the only option. Given the average survival is just 2 years, Carol's first thought was her family.
My kids, certainly. So they instantly came to my head. Am I going to see them grow up?
Then, doctors at the Cleveland Clinic told her about a new option. Carol was eligible for an experimental liver transplant from a live person.
Basically, it consists in removing about 60% of the liver from a healthy person, a healthy donor, and transplanting that part to a person that is in need.
Given her desperate situation, Carol started looking for a donor. Her pastor at St. Mark's Lutheran Church in Van Wert, Ohio, wrote about Carol's need in the Sunday Bulletin.
It was like the very second that my eyes saw that and started reading it, just had this feeling come over me that, this is going to be you. You need to do this.
After tests, Jason learned he was a perfect match. But doctors warned him there were risks.
There's about 4 to 6 patients in 1,000 who will die as a result of living donation.
Jason still agreed to the transplant, even though he barely even knew Carol.
It was a blessing to me. I think I cried for probably the first week.
The difficult surgery was a complete success. Carol and Jason, who are now good friends, both recovered beautifully and feel great.
It's given me the chance to see my John. He's graduated now. And my Joseph is going to graduate. And my Nick is at Dartmouth. And I didn't know that I would get to see Drew graduate from high school. But I get that opportunity now because of what Jason has given to me.
So many people have come up and said, it's so great what you did, and it's amazing. You're such a great person. And I always have to step back and no, it's not. You don't understand that I was called to do this.
Thanks to the transplant, doctors estimate Carol's chance of survival increased from 10% to 60% after 5 years. Great news for Carol and many others facing a similar diagnosis. In addition to the surgery, doctors also conducted genetic testing on Carol. They found what they believe can cause colon cancer at such a young age.
Doctors now know mutations in the BMPR1A and SMAD4 genes can cause polyps to form in the colons of teenagers. If left untreated, these polyps can develop into colon cancer, which can spread to the liver.
Since these mutations are usually inherited, Carol's 4 children also underwent genetic testing. Doctors learned 2 carried the problem gene. Both then underwent colonoscopies, at which time doctors discovered problems and treated them.
Jonathan had several polyps removed. Joseph, who was 20 years old at the time that he had the colonoscopy, had 3 precancerous polyps. And so through my diagnosis, what a greater gift could I give as a mom? Besides teaching my kids to love Jesus and to be compassionate young men, I was able to give them life again. They will never have to deal with this. They will never have to go through what I've had to do.
Carol hopes to use her story to convince young adults to learn more about their family's health history and undergo genetic testing and colorectal screenings if necessary.
When we come back, we'll take you to Grocery Budget Boot Camp after this.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he has, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Too many people believe you have to choose whether to save money or eat healthy. The good news is you can do both with a little know-how.
Just because some unhealthy foods like processed macaroni and cheese are cheap and some healthy foods like wild-caught salmon are expensive, don't think for a minute you have to spend a lot to eat healthy. Tiffany Terzak is living proof. She feeds her Atlanta family of 4 super healthy food for, get this, only $330 a month.
We eat real food, so food that comes from the ground, animals that eat plants from the ground. We hardly eat anything processed, and by processed, I'm referring to boxes, just add water type of things. We don't eat that.
Tiffany's online grocery budget boot camp is so popular, there's a waiting list. Probably because she saves her students an average of $2,400 a year.
I believe God has given me the gift of teaching people how to eat real food on a budget. Everything involved in that arena comes easy to me, and I know it's hard for other people.
Tiffany took me to her local grocery and shared her top tips, like stocking up on sale items.
What really caught my eye is this, and these are drumsticks for $1.79 per pound, marked down from $2.49, and these are free-range organic as well. And there are several packages up here. There's at least, 4, 5, 6 packages of them. So when someone is concerned about eating healthier food, trying to buy organics, but they always say that organic costs so much, if you just keep your eyes open, you can find really great deals on organic food at the grocery store.
So you would buy all of those packages and put them in the freezer?
I would, because the sales cycle for grocery stores is 6 to 8 weeks. And now I don't have to buy it at full price in, say, 2 weeks from now. We're good to go for several weeks.
When you hit the produce department, comparison shop. You'll be surprised some organics, like carrots, are usually pretty cheap.
So it's a 30-cent difference between conventional and organic, which is really great if you're trying to buy better quality food, but trying to keep it within the budget.
Don't pay more for chopped or washed produce. Save big money by doing it yourself. Seasonal produce is usually less expensive and abundant. And check out the bargain bin.
Some of the stores will include organic produce in this marked down section, and it doesn't change the price. It's still 99 cents for that bag, which can really save you a lot of money.
Frozen produce can be just as healthy as fresh and often a lot cheaper. And buying the right stuff in bulk also saves. For example, these big containers of probiotic-rich yogurt are a lot less per ounce than single-serving containers. Hunt for low-priced canned foods like these fiber-filled organic beans, 10 for $10.
What you may not realize is that you don't have to buy 10 to get the deal of $1 per can.
Wild canned fish is way cheaper than fresh or frozen, and it's just as healthy. Here's a good tip: only buy food at the grocery store.
Aluminum foil will cost you more at the grocery store than it would if you were to buy it at a different store that wasn't a food-focused store.
Like Walmart?
Like Walmart, Costco, Target.
Watch out for the specialty cheese section. The blue cheese here is twice the price of what's in the dairy section. Steer clear of bottled and canned drinks like juices and sodas. Stick with good old tap water instead. Also, avoid packaged snack foods like cereal bars. It's much healthier and cheaper to make them from scratch from organic whole oats.
If you are intentional with what you cook from scratch, and you cook the things that will have the biggest impact on your budget, then you can actually make cooking from scratch work in your favor.
Bone broth and kimchi are two of the best things for your gut. You can buy them at the store, but they're also really cheap and easy to make at home.
First, buy meat containing bones. It's cheaper than boneless. After eating the meat, instead of throwing the bones away, save and toss them in a crock pot with water and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Let sit for an hour, then add onion, carrot, and celery. Cook on low for 24 hours or longer. Remove the large pieces of bone and vegetables, then strain and enjoy.
When we come back, gene editing and the possibility of unintended consequences. Stay with us.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
A new medical breakthrough is so controversial, it's being viewed as both an answer to prayer and a potentially frightening perversion of the human race. Editing the genes of humans to get rid of sickness sounds like a great idea, but could be riddled with problems. Many of us know someone who inherited a gene that caused them to get a terrible disease like Alzheimer's or cancer. Now, scientists say they've developed a technique to get rid of those problem genes and therefore the diseases they cause. It's called gene editing. As the name suggests, scientists remove the bad gene and replace it with a healthy one. They did this in an Oregon lab by replacing a gene in a human embryo that caused a potentially deadly heart condition. The embryo was later destroyed. Scientists say gene editing will allow them to prevent a whole host of other inherited diseases, but some don't like the way the process is being tested.
Concern here is that what they did is effectively killed a number of embryos in order to get the genetic change that they want. And we believe that that could have been done later in the process to actually treat even an unborn child or a child with that disease.
Another worry is that this could lead to the creation of so-called designer babies, where scientists alter an embryo's genetics not to save a life or prevent a disease, but to make the person better looking, better in sports and school.
With this technology, we're talking about altering life and altering the germline heredity of people, and that creates a lot of concerns for us and a lot of other people.
Many in the scientific community share that concern. Scientists who gathered from around the world in Washington, D.C. last year said gene editing should only be used to save lives and alleviate suffering.
People start talking about eye color, hair color. Sometimes people start talking about things like memory enhancement or muscle mass and things like that. And I think we really need to be careful about that because, quite frankly, some of that involves very, very complicated science in terms of the numbers of genes that you'd have to manipulate, etc. And at least for now, that's not the game.
It's difficult to prevent those experiments from happening, but what you can do as a community is set clear guidelines about what would be an acceptable experiment and what would be an unacceptable experiment, and to not let those people that perform unacceptable biological experiments get away without some form of regulation or punishment.
So while gene editing is still in its infancy, now may be the ideal time to discuss all of the possible consequences of this new technology, as well as ways to control it. That's all the time we have for this edition of Healthy Living. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.